Spain is not just about the sea and beaches. Spain is about places that take your breath away. I live in Barcelona, and over years of traveling, I've discovered corners of Spain that most tourists can't even imagine. But today, I want to share with you the 12 most important places in the country. These are places from my personal top list. These are places I've checked out myself, places I've actually visited, not just found on some website. So watch closely and take notes. Number 12 is Tenerife. It's the largest of the Canary Islands, located off the coast of Africa. And yes, it's also Spain. Honestly, when I think of Tenerife, the first thing that comes to mind is the view I saw from the airplane window as we were approaching the island and landing. So, this giant volcano, Tide, dominates the whole island. You can see it from everywhere. No matter where you are in Tenerife, you can just turn around and see. There's that volcano. By the way, it's really cool to climb it, catch the sunset up there. It's incredibly beautiful. What else is great there? There are charming little towns, old and quiet, with churches and cobblestone streets. There's a cool laurel forest there. Walking through it leaves quite an impression. There are also awesome cliffs, the 600-meter-high Los Gigantes. They rise straight up from the ocean and drop off right into the sea. There are beaches too, and not just any beaches. They have black volcanic sand. You lie on that beach, then get up and you're covered in some kind of black stuff. It feels weird, but it's cool and interesting. It's just regular sand, only black. There are also awesome waves that surfers love. I tried surfing, but I guess some people are just better at it than others. And this is the place that European retirees choose to enjoy their old age. For them, it's paradise on earth. Well, maybe it'll be the same for you too. Number 11 is Santiago de Compostela. There's a cathedral of the same name there, where a major Christian relic is still kept, the remains of St. James the Apostle. And leading to this cathedral, to this little town, is the Way of St. James, the Camino de Santiago. This is the route taken by Christian pilgrims, who travel all across Spain, and even all across Europe. So you walk kilometer after kilometer on foot, so that in the end you arrive at that very city, Santiago de Compostela, which I'm telling you about now. The old city, the ancient city, its entire center is so well preserved that UNESCO has declared it a World Heritage Site in its entirety. And this city stands as a symbol of Christian unity, because it was from here, from the north, that the Reconquista began, when Christians, Spaniards, Asturians, Galicians started driving the Muslim Arabs out of the Iberian Peninsula. So it's a symbol of the unity of the Christian world, a symbol of Galician culture, and of course, the main city of Galician cuisine. Yes, Galician cuisine is, first and foremost, all about seafood, probably one of the best and most beloved cuisines in Spain. Seafood cuisine comes from Galicia. Santiago de Compostela is the capital of Galicia. 10th place goes to the medieval towns of Catalonia. In Catalonia, in my opinion, you can feel the spirit of the Middle Ages better than in other regions. All across the region, you'll find these towns surrounded by fortress walls, where everything has been preserved just as it was in the past. They're like, I don't know, historical time capsules, I guess. They've hardly changed at all. And when you arrive, you realize this isn't a reconstruction. It's not some set. It's not a tourist attraction. In this town, everything is exactly the same now as it was, I don't know, 500 or even 700 years ago. You walk through these little towns, you take them in, you soak up the atmosphere, and everything feels so real that you almost expect to turn around and see horses' hooves clattering on the cobblestone streets, with knights riding by. Yeah, you can picture it so vividly, almost as if it's happening right in front of you. There are a lot of these little towns, but I'll show you the main ones on screen, the ones you absolutely can't miss if you find yourself in Catalonia. 9th place goes to the city of Seville. This is the capital of the hot southern region of Andalusia. It's a city that has absorbed, I think, all the colors and all of the essence of the South. Their Moorish heritage is mixed with Christianity. By the way, this is the city where flamenco was invented. The famous dance and music originated right here. This was the main city during Spain's golden age, when Spain was a huge colonial power and all the riches from the Americas came right here, to Seville. These were the sea gates ever since Columbus discovered America. If you ever visit Seville, don't miss, first of all, the cathedral with Christopher Columbus's tomb, the Royal Palace, the Alcazar Castle, and of course, Plaza de España, which is built in the Neo-Moorish style and is probably one of the most beautiful places in Seville. It's a spot I always love coming back to. I share a lot of recommendations about Spain in general, because I live here, I love this country, and I know it very well. But I haven't overlooked Spain's neighbor, Portugal. I already have a great video on my channel called The 10 Best Places in Portugal and 3 Secret Spots. Eighth place goes to the Aragonese Pyrenees. In fact, this region is probably the most untouched by mass tourism among all the mountain areas in Europe, and it's incredibly beautiful. Actually, all of the Pyrenees are beautiful, but out of all the regions, I chose Aragon because Spain feels completely different there. It's pure, it's mountainous, and there's no hustle and bustle, and you can just be there and soak up the atmosphere. In this region, you absolutely have to visit the Ordesa and Monte Perdido National Park and see all its beauty. There are canyons, glaciers, beautiful valleys, waterfalls, streams, and mountain peaks. This is probably the best of the best. It's the very best place in the Aragonese Pyrenees, and it's actually very accessible, by the way. You can easily get there by car, and from there it's all on foot, on foot, on foot, on foot. Make sure to reach the Benasque Valley and Pico Aneto. This is the highest point in the Pyrenees. It's simply a paradise here for those who love leisurely hikes. And of course, don't forget about the authentic villages in the valleys. For example, the village of Ainsa, which is included in the list of the most beautiful villages in Spain. Seventh place goes to Ronda. Ronda is an old town that literally hangs over a cliff. It's built on top of the rocks, and when you look at it from below especially, you can't understand how it even manages to cling on up there. How did people even manage to get up there, build all of this, and fit houses in that spot? But it was right here that bullfighting was born. And in Ronda, there's one of the oldest bull rings, and for many matadors, it's considered an honor to fight in this very arena in Ronda. And at the top, you're greeted with views of all of Andalusia. Well, not all of Andalusia, of course, but a significant part of it. The view from the new bridge in Ronda is one of those iconic sights of all Spain. You could say it's the calling card of the region. The city is split into two parts by a gorge, and to get from one side to the other, you have to cross this very bridge. Because the city is located in such a place, it was very difficult to storm during the Middle Ages, and the Moors held out there for a very long time. The Christians, the Catholic monarchs, had to put in a lot of effort to capture Ronda. And even now, you can still feel that Moorish, Muslim influence there. And in the city, Arab baths and a Baroque-style cathedral coexist easily side by side. It's such a contrast that, well, at first, especially if you don't know the history of this city, it really amazes you. How can such things exist together? Sixth place goes to Madrid. Madrid is the capital of Spain. It's the country's nerve center. It's a place where energy is always buzzing and where you can really feel the Spanish spirit. Yes, there's no sea here, but there's definitely soul. Madrid isn't about the pictures. Madrid isn't about the views. Madrid is more about the feelings you experience there. Actually, Madrid was the first city in Spain that I ever saw, and for me, Spain is kind of centered in Madrid. I spent the night in some two-star hotel near Gran Via, and that's the little neighborhood between Gran Via and Puerta del Sol, the Square of the Sun, an old area with tiny streets. So I was walking around, exploring those little streets. The sun was blazing really hard, and up above, the sun is shining. You step out onto the Square of the Sun, and that's where the 0-kilometer mark is. It's that feeling of heated, sun-baked stone, the sense that you've stepped into another reality. And I guess that's something that has stayed with me forever. As a kind of memory of Spain, Madrid is imperial grandeur. Madrid is Gran Via. It's the main street where the most grandiose buildings are located. And of course, you walk along Gran Via with your head tilted back, taking it all in. It also leads to a square where there's a monument to Cervantes and Don Quixote with Sancho Panza. That's also kind of the quintessence of Spain. Madrid has this amazing square, Plaza Mayor. It's the city's main square, and I think it's honestly the most Spanish square you could possibly imagine. Plaza Mayor is an enclosed square. First of all, it's not exactly square. It's a rectangular plaza surrounded by tall buildings. In the middle, there's usually some kind of statue, monument, fountain, and so on. In Madrid, it's a statue. So you see this square, and then you start traveling around Spain and realize that every other square in every Spanish town is basically a copy of Plaza Mayor in Madrid. If you're in Madrid, you absolutely have to visit the Prado Museum. I'm not a huge art lover, to be honest, but even I've been to that museum 3 times because it's just that awesome. They've gathered probably the very best of Spanish and, to a large extent, European culture and painting there. Goya, Velázquez, El Greco, and even some Dutch artists are represented. My son recently took a school exam on Spanish and European art, and I promised to take him to Madrid, specifically to the Prado. We need to pick a weekend and make a trip there, show him around while he's still interested. In 5th place, I put the White Villages of Andalusia. The White Villages is actually the official name, Pueblos Blancos. Every house in these villages is painted white. Why white? That's pretty clear too. Because it's the south, it's hot. White reflects the sun best. so these houses stay cooler than if they were painted any other color. But of course, the Andalusians have turned this into an art form. Not only are these white walls always spotless, they're never dirty, never sooty, nothing like that. They take great care to keep them that way. And on top of that, they started decorating them. They hang colorful flower pots, blue ones, red ones. And with the contrast against the bright white color shining in the sun, it just looks absolutely stunning. Once you've seen one of these Andalusian white walls with flower pots, you'll never forget it. It's an image that really sticks in your memory. It immediately sets the region apart from the rest of the world's diversity. This is largely a legacy of the Moorish past, because these villages looked exactly the same back when the Muslims lived here. There used to be a huge, not just a state, but a union of states here, called Al-Andalus. And when the Christians came and drove out the Muslims, of course, in the cities they turned all the mosques into churches, but these little villages remained as they were. These villages have stayed exactly the same as they were 1,000 years ago. It's really interesting, definitely worth a visit. I'll give you the names of the places you should stop by, but actually, there are a lot of them. You can just randomly pick different places in Andalusia and go there. There will be a white village and flower pots. The fourth place is Toledo. Toledo is one of my favorite Spanish cities, so I'm a bit biased here. It's quite a large city. It's surrounded by a beautifully preserved fortress wall and stands on a high bank of the Tagus River. There's a bridge, that classic bridge that invaders also had to cross, with towers, you know, with archers who could stand on top. And it's a perfectly preserved piece of the Middle Ages. You walk through these little streets, and you can literally imagine how everything used to be here. And what adds even more atmosphere is that, well, Toledo steel. Toledo has always been famous for its swords, daggers, and so on. And on literally every corner, there are these little shops selling bladed weapons. Of course, a lot of it is souvenirs, made specifically for sale, but there is a huge variety of swords there. And so you walk among these unusual souvenir shops along the cobblestone streets, in the heat, and you imagine how, probably 500 years ago, people would just pour slop into that gutter running down the middle of the street, and it would flow further, and eventually drain into the regolith. There was a stench, scorching heat, filth everywhere. This was real medieval life. It's not a replica. It's all there without any embellishment. And you can really immerse yourself in that atmosphere, probably best of all in Toledo. So if I had to choose a city anywhere in the world where you can truly feel the Middle Ages, it would be straight to Toledo. There you see it in all its beauty and probably all its ugliness too. If you're already inspired and ready to go to Spain to see all these wonders, I have ready-made itineraries on my website, well-designed, packed with great sites, covering different regions of Spain. You can come and follow one of these routes, seeing everything without missing anything important or interesting. There's already something available now, and more Spanish regions will be added over time. Click the link and download them for a small fee. Third place goes to the Picos de Europa National Park. Honestly, I feel a bit sad about it, because it's one of the most beautiful places in Spain and probably the most underrated. Because for some reason, foreign tourists don't know about this amazing national park, which is actually one of the oldest in Spain and has existed for over 100 years. I haven't seen landscapes like the ones in the Picos de Europa anywhere else, and I've traveled a lot and seen plenty of mountain scenery. That picture, when there are lush green meadows, hills, and little villages. Then the hills get higher, mountains, and above it all rises this sharp, gray peak. I mean, how could you possibly miss something like that? How could you not see something like that? You drive inside, and there's just so much variety everywhere. Really, these peaks, so many mountain trails, waterfalls, valleys, caves. That's why you go for walks here. What's most interesting is that, well, if not always, then in many cases you end up alone there, just you and nature. Switzerland also has tons of beautiful places, but there you get crowds of tourists everywhere. But here, hardly anyone comes here at all. This place is probably rare, a unique spot where you can enjoy amazing views and still be more or less alone with nature. The second place is Granada, one of the most, I'd say, interesting cities in Europe. Because Granada, the former capital of the Emirate of Granada, was the capital of the last Muslim state on the Iberian Peninsula. And in terms of culture, it's the most eastern city in Spain. You wander its streets, and you almost forget that you're still in Europe. It feels like you're in Morocco or somewhere in the Middle East. That's how much this atmosphere is still present there. And at the same time, it's a city of Christianity, a city of triumphant Christianity. I mean, there's this giant cathedral there, which, of course, was converted from a mosque. There's a royal chapel there where the most revered Spanish monarchs are buried. That's Ferdinand and Isabella. In Granada, of course, You absolutely have to visit the eighth wonder of the world, the Alhambra. It's the place that Muslim rulers designed as a paradise on earth. There's incredibly delicate carving, little fountains, those arches, passageways, and so on, gardens too. Visiting Granada and not seeing the Alhambra is unforgivable. But remember, there are huge lines at the Alhambra. You can't just show up and buy a ticket. You need to book your ticket in advance because everyone wants to go there. This is probably the coolest, most hyped up spot in all of southern Spain. What else should you do in Granada? Well, of course, you should wander the old streets of the Albaycin Quarter, the very same Arab district that's been preserved from the past. And there's also this strange, unusual place, the Gypsy Quarter, where the houses are carved right into the cliffs. Basically, these are cave houses. So if you get the chance, it's a bit on the outskirts of Granada, but you really should make the trip and see it with your own eyes. The number one spot is, of course, Barcelona. Barcelona is the city that, out of all the cities in the world, I chose to live in, and I absolutely love it. It's a city where everything is intertwined: the Roman past, the Gothic Middle Ages, that very ornate and sophisticated Catalan modernism, and contemporary architecture. At the same time, it's a place where everything exists in harmony. You can't say that one style overshadows the others. No, they're somehow woven into each other in such a way that as you walk these streets, you just enjoy yourself. Because you see one thing, then another, then something else, and it just feels great. It's a city that makes you fall in love. A city that can't leave you indifferent. I mean, I know people who aren't fond of Barcelona, but I don't think I've ever met anyone who would say, well, it's just an ordinary city, a standard city. No, it's not a standard city. It's a city with a soul, and you can feel that soul. You either connect with it, or you don't. I connected with it, so I feel great here. In Barcelona, you absolutely have to visit the Gothic Quarter. Yes, it's the old heart of the city, the center. Take a walk through those little streets, admire the sights, take it all in. By the way, it's cool there, even if the rest of the city is hot. Of course, you absolutely have to walk along the gems of Catalan modernism, starting with the Sagrada Familia, the most famous long-term construction project in Europe, and ending with the works of Gaudi and other Catalan architects. And of course, you have to see Barcelona from above. At the very least, from two key spots: Montjuic Hill and Tibidabo Mountain. And Barcelona from above is a truly special sight. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to go and take a look. You'll be surprised at how strange and unusual the city looks from a bird's eye view. And if you haven't been to Barcelona yet, you absolutely have to visit. It's a city you simply can't help but fall in love with. And check out my other top lists about Spain and other countries. Visit the website and choose routes around Spain, Portugal, and other destinations. And of course, enjoy every moment of your journey.